Vincent van Gogh was admitted to a mental asylum outside Saint-Remy in Provence, where he would spend just over a year. Originally, it was planned that he would be sent to a large public institution in Marseille, home to more than 1,000 patients and located in the center of the city. Had that happened, there is little doubt that he would never have produced the extraordinary body of work he created. Instead, at the small asylum in Saint-Remy, with only 41 patients, Vincent was treated with compassion and understanding. The doctors quickly realized that the only way Vincent would survive was if he were given space and freedom to paint and create. Art, quite literally, would keep him alive. While other patients screamed through the night, Vincent's creativity and discipline grew stronger than ever. He painted during every waking moment, often producing optimistic landscapes. He worked at remarkable speed, sometimes completing a painting in just a few hours. Astonishingly, given his circumstances, he completed at least 150 paintings during his time at the asylum, roughly one painting every 2 days, and it was on June 18, 1889, that he painted The Starry Night. In popular culture, Vincent van Gogh is often portrayed as the archetypal mad artist. While he did experience severe manic episodes, most of the time he was lucid, thoughtful, and rational. Vincent was highly intelligent and extremely well-read, with deep knowledge of art and artists. He was articulate, spoke 4 languages, and maintained lifelong friendships through letters and personal visits. However, he struggled to find his place in the world. After a particularly difficult period living with Paul Gauguin, he suffered a severe mental breakdown involving hallucinations and voices, which culminated in the infamous act of cutting off his own ear. Doctors at the asylum diagnosed epilepsy, though it is likely he also suffered from what we now call bipolar disorder, along with auditory hallucinations and possibly syphilis. Vincent referred to his fellow patients as his companions in misfortune, and recent research suggests he may have been among the most mentally stable patients at Saint-Remy. Overall, the asylum had a positive impact on him, and he was well enough to paint roughly 75% of the time. One visitor who came to see Vincent described him as being in excellent physical and mental health. After leaving the asylum, Vincent traveled to Paris to visit his brother Theo, whose wife Jo remarked on how healthy he appeared. During his time at Saint-Remy, he drank far less, avoided absinthe, had no complicated romantic entanglements, and followed a strict routine with 3 meals a day. Isolation proved beneficial. With no outside distractions, Vincent, always a tireless worker, poured all his energy into his art. While we often imagine 19th-century asylums as terrifying places, the founder of the Saint-Remy Asylum was progressive and believed that nature was healing for troubled minds. Extensive gardens were planted, and the therapeutic power of art and music was encouraged. Life there was not easy, and Vincent suffered manic attacks when he was unable to paint. But his situation could have been far worse. His brother Theo, who paid for his care, insisted that Vincent be allowed to paint, and he was given his own studio. His paintings are often seen as evidence of madness, yet it was his work that sustained and energized him. He created these masterpieces despite his illness, not because of it. On his first day, as Vincent was led into his sparse cell, he must have felt fear, but also reassurance. Though the window was barred, the view was breathtaking. Glowing wheat fields, olive groves, vineyards, and the distant foothills of the Alpilles Mountains. At first, he painted the world visible from his room, a subject repeated many times during his stay. Within weeks, he was allowed to wander the countryside alone. The morning after his arrival, Vincent entered the walled garden, set up his easel, and by lunchtime had completed his first asylum masterpiece. Vincent van Gogh was largely self-taught and did not begin painting until the age of 30. Just 7 years later, he would be dead. His final 4 years were when he developed the distinctive style we recognize today, and they were also his most productive. Once he found his artistic voice, he worked relentlessly, as if racing against time. His 2 years in Paris before February 1888 laid the groundwork for his later work. There he absorbed the influence of impressionists like Monet and Pissarro, as well as younger artists such as Paul Signac, Émile Bernard, and Toulouse-Lautrec, many of whom became lifelong friends. Like many artists of his generation, he was deeply influenced by Japanese prints, which, along with his Paris experience, transformed his approach and helped pave the way for works like The Starry Night. Vincent admired Hokusai's The Great Wave, and clear comparisons can be drawn between its composition and rich blue tones and the turbulent skies of The Starry Night. During the final 5 years of his career, his palette brightened dramatically, aided by newly invented synthetic pigments. Color, above all else, was Vincent's visual language. His later works reveal strong Japanese influence: bold blocks of color, dark outlines, flattened space, and distorted perspectives. Vincent had long planned a painting of a starry sky, mentioning it repeatedly in letters. The Starry Night depicts the view from his upper-floor asylum window, but as he could not paint at night, it was created from memory during the day in his ground-floor studio. Though he had painted the view many times, this nocturne was different. The diagonal line of rolling hills remains, but the cypress tree, much smaller in reality, is pulled dramatically into the foreground. This echoes the tight cropping seen in Japanese prints. In Mediterranean culture, cypress trees symbolize death, and here it rises skyward, connecting earth and heaven. Previously, Vincent insisted on painting directly from nature, rejecting Paul Gauguin's suggestion to work from imagination. Yet, in the Asylum, limited freedom made imagination essential. In this emotionally charged work, Vincent painted something intangible. An electric, living sky as we feel it, rather than see it. Artists of this era were shifting from storytelling toward personal expression, and Vincent's work helped pave the road to modern art. Astronomers later determined that the moon on June 18th was nearly full, not a crescent, and that Venus would have been visible only before dawn. The painting appears to merge different moments of night and early morning. The sky is built with Vincent's signature impasto, thick, textured strokes applied straight from the tube, sometimes spread with a palette knife. Just weeks earlier, during a manic episode, Vincent had attempted to poison himself by swallowing paint and turpentine. Now, those same materials became tools of creation. Color was his voice. He studied complementary color theory, inspired by Rubens and Delacroix, learning how opposing colors intensified one another. Impressionists taught him looseness. Seurat introduced optical mixing. Theo later dismissed The Starry Night as style over substance. Yet modern images of spiral galaxies closely resemble Vincent's swirling stars. Remarkably, drawings of such galaxies had been published decades earlier, and Vincent, an avid astronomy enthusiast, was familiar with them. The village in the painting is imagined rather than observed, simplified and idealized, with glowing lights balancing the stars above. The church resembles those of Vincent's Dutch childhood, perhaps recalling memories of his father's ministry. Though Vincent had rejected organized religion, spiritual themes remained central to his art. Nature, for him, represented the infinite, and stars carried deep emotional meaning, perhaps offering comfort during lonely nights. Vincent would later call The Starry Night a failure. He was released from the asylum and moved to Auvers-sur-Oise. 2 months later, he shot himself. He died 36 hours later, with Theo at his side. Theo himself would die just 6 months later. It is a myth that Vincent was unrecognized in his lifetime. His work was exhibited alongside major artists, sold for respectable sums, and praised by critics. Just 2 months before his death, 10 of his paintings were displayed in a major Paris exhibition attended by the President of France. Vincent van Gogh stood on the edge of success, perhaps ending his life at the very moment he was becoming what he had always dreamed of being.